The invisible force. How to reprogram the mind that silently sabotages you. The emotional exhaustion of pretending to be strong. All the time, close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel how much weight your soul has been carrying in silence? Maybe. You've spent a lifetime holding everything together for everyone else, wearing a smile while breaking inside. This kind of strength, the one that looks unshakable on the outside, often hides a silent collapse within. It's the exhaustion of pretending to be okay when your inner world is screaming for rest. There's a hidden cost to always being the strong one. You start to believe that vulnerability is weakness and control is safety. But real strength doesn't come from holding everything in. It comes from daring to feel. From trusting that breaking down is not the end, but the beginning of a deeper truth surfacing. What if the you holding it all together isn't the one that needs saving? According to Dr. Bruce Lipton, the beliefs we hold shape not just our thoughts, but our very biology. When your belief is that you must be invulnerable to be worthy, your cells respond with chronic tension. Your nervous system stays in survival mode, fight, flight, or freeze, even when there's no threat. This armored self becomes your identity, but not your essence. And so a question echoes in the silence. What if your real strength isn't in how much you endure, but in how deeply you allow yourself to be seen, even in your brokenness? Can you imagine what would happen if your soul could finally exhale? Healing begins when the armor cracks and your true frequency begins to shine through, because your body listens to every whisper your soul sends, and your soul is tired of pretending, the silent mistake of confusing endurance with mental strength. We were taught to be resilient, to push through, to keep going no matter what. But resilience, when confused with suppression, becomes a silent poison. True mental strength isn't about enduring endless struggle. It's about discernment, knowing what to carry and what to finally lay down. There's immense courage in letting go of what no longer belongs to your soul. When your mind is conditioned to survive rather than to live, your brain rewires itself for tension. Joe Dispenza teaches that the mind creates habitual loops, emotional patterns encoded in the body. So if your nervous system has been normalized to stress, any moment of peace may feel unfamiliar, even unsafe. And so you stay in the loop, mistaking hypervigilance for clarity. The longer you stay in this cycle, the more disconnected you become from your intuitive self, the part of you that knows peace is your natural state. Your thoughts spin, your body tightens, and your creativity dims. There is no room for inspiration when all your energy is spent on defense. And yet, the moment you allow yourself to soften, clarity begins to return. What if you redefine strength, not as how tightly you can hold on, but how gracefully you can release? What if letting go is not giving up, but opening a door? The mind that no longer fights itself becomes a sanctuary. And from that place, a new kind of power arises, the power to choose differently. Because mental strength without emotional truth is just exhaustion dressed in silence. How trauma shapes your strong identity without you knowing. There's a strength many wear like armor, but that strength was born in a battlefield. Maybe your resilience is actually a brilliant adaptation, forged in pain, built in silence. What we often call personality is, in truth, a set of learned protections. Trauma doesn't just wound, it instructs. It teaches the body how to survive, but not how to thrive. Bruce Lipton explains that our subconscious mind, shaped mostly before age 7, is like a tape recorder. If your early life taught you that love was conditional or safety was scarce, your mind created a version of you that could endure, a version that stayed alert, kept it all together, and rarely asked for help. That version became your shield. Over time, this protective identity hardens into who you think you are. You say, "I'm just strong." But what you really mean is, "I've had no other choice." And in that sentence, the soul waits, longing not to be strong, but to be whole. The good news is that through neuroplasticity, you can begin to unlearn what trauma once taught you. It starts by becoming aware, not to blame, but to witness. Witness the moments you shrink or tense up. Witness the patterns that no longer serve. This awareness doesn't destroy the old identity, it gently dissolves it, and in its place, something softer and truer begins to emerge. So I ask you, who would you be if you didn't need to be strong all the time? What part of you is still waiting to be held, not by others, but by your own compassion? Beware. The cult of stoic positivity. In a world that often rewards emotional restraint, many of us have learned to mask our chaos with poetic phrases. Think positive, they say. But what happens when your heart is in turmoil and your vibration is misaligned? Forcing elevated thoughts while ignoring emotional truth creates spiritual dissonance. You say affirmations while your body whispers fear. The result? A soul out of sync with its own frequency. True spiritual alignment requires emotional honesty. Greg Braden reminds us that the heart and brain must be in coherence for true transformation to occur. If your heart is aching but your mind is repeating mantras, there's a gap. And in that gap, exhaustion grows. Performing positivity is not healing. It's spiritual bypassing in disguise. This isn't a judgment, but a gentle reminder your pain deserves presence, not platitudes. When you suppress your emotions in the name of light, you create inner resistance. That resistance blocks your vibration from ascending. Real power comes not from pretending all is well, but from allowing what is real to move through you. That is what recalibrates your frequency. Imagine if your spiritual path didn't require you to be constantly high vibe, but to be deeply, authentically present. Presence heals what pressure never can. You don't need to escape your shadows. You need to embrace them until they reveal their wisdom. The soul doesn't rise by pretending it's not wounded. It rises by listening to the wound. So let your truth be louder than your performance. Because your frequency responds not to the mask, but to the emotion underneath it. A practical tool. The witness space technique for real inner strength. There is a place within you, beyond reaction, beyond story, where pure observation lives. The witness space is a sacred mental position where you are not your thoughts, but the one watching them. It's where metacognition begins, the brain's ability to observe itself. This space is calm, clear, and powerful. And the more you access it, the more your reactions lose their grip. To create this space, pause the next time you feel emotionally triggered. Breathe in slowly. Ask yourself gently, what am I noticing right now? Label the sensation, not the story. Tightness in my chest, heat in my face, thoughts racing. This neutral labeling activates the prefrontal cortex, shifting you from reaction to reflection. Joe Dispenza speaks of the gap between stimulus and response as the birthplace of transformation. In that gap, you are no longer a puppet of old programs. You are present, and in presence, new choices become possible. Over time, this practice rewires your nervous system to seek awareness over automaticity. You begin to respond rather than repeat. This technique isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about creating space around it. Space brings breath, and breath brings clarity. When you observe without judgment, you create internal coherence, the state where the heart, mind, and body move together. From that state, true strength emerges, not from control, but from inner alignment. Try it now. Close your eyes, feel what's alive in you, and simply witness. No fixing, just presence. This is the beginning of real power. Why most try to reprogram? The mind without changing the body. Many spiritual seekers dive deep into mental reprogramming, affirmations, visualizations, mindset shifts. But without engaging the body, the transformation stays superficial. Your subconscious speaks body language. If your physiology is locked in tension, your affirmations won't land. The body must feel safe before the mind can believe something. New Dr. Bruce Lipton reminds us that beliefs are not just mental constructs, they're cellular instructions. Your biology listens to your emotional state. So if you're practicing abundance thinking while your body is in survival mode, the message becomes scrambled. The nervous system doesn't lie. You must start from the ground up. This means learning how to regulate your state. Gentle movement, deep breathing, grounding practices, and these are not optional, they're foundational. When your body feels safe, your subconscious opens. It begins to receive new instructions. And that's when real rewiring occurs, not just in thought, but in tissue, in frequency, in reality. Think of your body as the soil and your thoughts as the seeds. If the soil is dry and cracked, even the most potent seeds will struggle to take root. But if you nourish the soil through presence, breath, and compassion, your thoughts begin to grow differently. Your reality shifts because your vibration has been grounded in safety. So next time you seek to change your mind, begin by softening your body. That's where the real door opens. The spiritual strength of surrender. When letting go is the bravest act, there is a sacred kind of power that doesn't fight. It trusts. Not passively, but deeply, actively, in communion with something greater. The most evolved mind is not the one that controls every outcome, but the one that can rest in the unknown. Surrender is not weakness, it is a higher form of strength, the kind that knows how to listen. Neville Goddard taught that creation begins in imagination, but its fulfillment requires faith. Faith not in outcome, but in alignment. When you release control, you create space for the quantum field to respond in ways you couldn't plan. Surrender is the fertile silence where miracles take root. It's the stillness between intention and manifestation. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop pushing. Stop fixing. Stop demanding answers. And instead, enter stillness. Greg Braden calls this the divine timing. When you let the rhythm of the universe guide your next move, you move from force to flow, from fear to frequency. Ask yourself, what if the battle you've been fighting is already over, and all that remains is for you to lay down the sword? What if the real test is not endurance but surrender, not inaction but receptivity? The strongest version of you may be the one who finally chooses peace. Because in the surrender, you remember that you were never alone. The universe has always been listening. Symbolic metaphor: the mountain that remains and the storm that passes. Picture a mountain, tall, ancient, unmoved. Around it, storms rage, winds scream, lightning cracks, but the mountain remains. It does not resist the storm nor try to change it. It simply is, grounded, steady, watching. This is the essence of true inner strength. You are that mountain. And the storm? Your emotions, your past, your stories, your fears. They come, they swirl, they scream, but they do not define you. You remain, not by suppressing the storm, but by anchoring deeper into your center, into the place within you that cannot be shaken. Tom Campbell describes consciousness as the root of all experience, and from this root, you can observe the chaos without becoming it. The mountain does not hate the storm. It allows it, because it knows the storm will pass, always. And in its wake, clarity returns. Your strength is not in how loud you roar. It's in how deeply you remain. Your presence, your stillness, your trust in your own essence. That is the silent power that transforms everything. When you stop identifying with the storm, you begin to live from the mountain. So I leave you with this. What if your healing doesn't come from battling the storm, but from remembering that you are the one who stands through it? Still, present, unmoved.